Okay, we're now focusing. We're focusing on how to focus. This is a very top 10 subject that people are seeking, how to focus. So, there are 5 things you need to know in order to focus. The first thing, as many things in life, is what takes a person out of focus. Now, in order to understand this, you have to understand, one of the greatest um, scientist in history, a guy who basically, in a sense, invented electricity, or at least the electricity that we have. I think it's the DC current, was a guy by the name of Nikola Tesla. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant man. Went a little bit mad, but he was absolutely brilliant. And one of his assertions was everything's about frequency. Everything really is frequency. In fact, there's a theory called string theory that actually everything in the universe is just about frequency. It's all the same, it's just different frequencies. Now, we know very clearly that the brain has different frequencies. So if I told you to focus, let's say when you're about to wake up, could you focus? You're just groggy, you're out of focus. If I told you to focus when you're in super tense anxiety, God forbid, if I told you to focus when you have this lust or an addiction. So if you think about it in frequencies, it's actually quite simple. I don't remember the exact details, but there's the alpha, the beta, there's the data, and there's the, I forget, there's actually 5, but usually it's about 4. There are 4 frequencies. So the lowest frequency, I don't know if it's megahertz, I think it's megahertz, is like 0 to, I think, 6 megahertz or something. And that's when you're sleeping. The brain is in a very, very low frequency state. And in fact, the brain is healing itself and your imagination is very strong. That's why you have dreams, especially in the REM state. And that's the frequency of kind of sleep, which basically it's a non-frequency. Obviously something's happening, but it's a very calm frequency. That's why people that are tense find it very difficult to sleep, because you have to get into certain level. The next frequency is, I think it's the alpha, beta. I think it's the beta frequency. I'm not sure. I'm just going to look this up quickly so I say the right thing. So, okay, just check it out. So basically, the other frequency that we have is like when you're waking up, you have the, let me just get this, the theta, I think that's how you call it, the theta waves, which is 4 hertz to 8 hertz. So you can't exactly focus, sort of like a daydream state you can be in as well. Now this is very important in terms of focusing. And it's very important to understand, and this is perhaps the biggest mistake we all make, is we all want to be in a single state because we don't like shifting. We like kind of being safe. Okay, well, this is reality, and here's where everybody's looking for the magic pill. I have a friend who's a doctor, pain management, and I said, well, I can help people out with kind of exercises. And he's like, everybody's looking for a pill. People just want, give me the magic formula. But life doesn't have a magic formula. Life comes with a lot of focus and growth and an ability to kind of correct imbalances. And so the alpha waves are a frequency of 8 hertz to 12 hertz. Now I'm just going to read you what it says here about the alpha waves. This frequency range bridges the gap between our conscious thinking and subconscious mind. In other words, alpha is a frequency range between beta and theta. It helps us calm down when necessary and promotes feelings of deep relaxation. If we become stressed, a phenomenon called alpha blocking may occur, which involves excessive beta activity and very little alpha. Essentially, the beta waves block out the production of alpha because we become too aroused. So we know people that are stressed, and if you've ever been stressed, you can't get calm. I remember reading once, it says, telling somebody to calm down, it's like telling an insomniac to go to sleep. He wishes he could calm down. Nobody wants to be stressed. Yet, on the flip side, a lot of people are too much in alpha. They're too chilled out. Men are usually more in alpha than women. Women have greater left brains and interconnectivity between the right, left, and prefrontal, and therefore their brains are always very highly active. And so women are much more in beta waves. Now, beta waves is a frequency range. Now, get this, between 12 hertz to 40 hertz. Now, these are known as high frequency, low amplitude brainwaves that are commonly observed while we are awake. They're involved in conscious thought, logical thinking, and tend to have a stimulating effect. Having the right amount of beta waves allows us to focus and complete school or work-based tasks easily. Having too much beta may lead us to experience excessive stress and or anxiety. So as usual, the problem with a lot of science and psychology is that they love categorizing things and then trying to create some kind of reality out of categorization. But everything, of course, is about balance. There's a time for everything. And the fact of the matter is that when we are in a state of fear, we're in a high focused state. But you can be too highly focused. You can be panicking. And what happens in panicking, I forget the name of the drug that comes in, but it's literally a drug that's given to people in the hospital where it sort of, I think it dilates maybe the blood vessels, certainly your eyes. When stressed, your whole body changes, and it's basically a focus, like a fight or flight mechanism. Problem with that is that you don't always need to be in that state. So if you're always in that state, eventually it tears down the body. The stress is not good for us. However, if we're always in a calm state, it's also not good for us. So the secret to being able to focus is perhaps what I believe is the most important teaching of Kabbalah. And that is the ability to, there are many ways of saying it, but it's the ability to have positive and negative emotions. You see, if you just have positive emotions, like a child, everything's beautiful, everything's secure, a fantasy. Many people in the Western democracies where everything's safe, they don't have nothing to worry about, they live in fantasy worlds. Billions of people playing video games, wasting their lives. Then there's another frequency, which is like, God forbid, people in the opposite, where nobody's helping you out, you're highly stressed, you're highly focused, and people can become very vicious because it's, I got to get the goal, and the body is saying, get it, no matter what, it's about survival. And you can't blame them because that's the state that they're in. So the funny thing about life is it's like a soup. You know, if it's too hot, it's not going to be good. If it's too cold, it's not going to be good. You have to have a mixture of hot and cold. And one of the ways to have a mixture is all about timing. So that's why God says 1 day a week you have to rest. Because if you're working all the time, you're going to burn out. But if you rest and then work, if you have times of pleasure and times of focus, because it's not fun to focus. Focus means you're taking yourself out of the expansive sort of fantasy, it's all beautiful reality, which is the right brain, into focus. This is what I have to do, self-discipline. So it's not a simple thing to achieve. Focus is not an easy thing. And again, so here's what we're suggesting is you have to have positive, and you have to have, I don't want to call it negative, but you certainly have to have times. I'll tell you what I do in my own life. If I find myself getting too happy, I'll pull myself down. If I find myself being too sad, I'll lift myself up. If I find myself being too stressed, I'll calm myself down. And sometimes, I have a friend who developed a Kamotrack, an amazing thing. It puts you into the alpha frequency. He's done it with 17,000 vets. It's got a 50% ability to take people out of trauma. But so that's an amazing statistic. Just it's something invented by NASA, which he kind of made the actual machine, and it relaxes the eye. So when I did it, I found myself getting too calm. Now you can't function if you're too calm because you don't have enough drive. So I had to sort of induce some anxiety, and obviously thoughts. A scary thought will induce anxiety. A happy thought will induce happiness, right? So you can manipulate your mood. It's like watching a movie. If you're watching a happy scene, you're going to be happy. You're watching a sad scene, you're going to be sad. So you can manipulate your mood based on what you think about. So the very first step to focusing is understanding that focus is a balance between too much beta and too little beta, somewhere between the alpha and the beta state. And the way you do it, like we said, is having this mix. Now, the other thing about focus is that you can be in a state of too much beta. It even goes to gamma, which is very high frequencies. Basically, you can be freaked out. And you need to be secure and safe in life. Now, one of the important things about safety is really a perception. Right now, you and I don't know if an asteroid is going to collapse on our head. God forbid, if a meteorologist said that there's an asteroid going to collapse, we'd be digging holes in the ground. So safety is a perception. You want to perceive that the world is safe. And there are three ways to do this. The first thing that you need to do is when you wake up in the morning, you have to have a gratitude list. Because gratitude, you're basically downloading a perception of the world. Are you safe or are you not safe? Now, when you have gratitude, what are you telling the hard drive? Let's take the heart as the hard drive. It has the memory and it feels emotions and based on what it thinks is going to happen. And the brain can download to the heart. Now, if you every day for 2 weeks, I guarantee you, I've helped many people with this, every day you have a gratitude list. As soon as you wake up, you think your gratitude list. So what's going to happen is your brain downloads that life is good. What's the proof? The proof is, what does your brain have? Only the information you give it. So if you're giving it gratitude, it means life is good. So then it starts to believe that life is good. Another very powerful technique is something the Baal Shem Tov says that we've all suffered, we've gone through shame or something else. He says, find the good in the bad will turn to good. Again, find the good in the bad. You see, if you can imagine that life is actually positive, even if there's something negative, but you can find something positive in it, then again, your long-term assessment of reality is that you are safe, life is good. So there's this general perception if we're safe or if we're unsafe. So this is very, very critical to understand. You have to think about the bad, and then you have to decide what was good in it so you have a positive perception. The other thing is very powerful is you have to, I spoke to a friend of mine, he's a principal of a school, I said, how do you help children with anxiety? So we say, well, in 2 weeks' time, if this actually happened, would you be safe? So often, we're worried about something, but actually if it happened, we'd still be safe. So we can feel safe, we can feel calm. Now, the bottom line is that in order to focus, you have to feel safe. And we've given you 3 techniques in order to help you feel safe.